So good morning. I'm Debra Prinzing. I am the creative director and founder of Slow Flowers, and I am so happy to welcome you to, I think this is our 7th virtual member meetup Zoom call, which is really exciting. Every Friday since the end of March, we've been gathering, and I see some returning faces, some real loyal people who have come every time. Laura Tibbis is here, and I can't believe it because I just watched the video of your dump trucks at your farm in Maine. I thought you'd be busy planting. So we'll hear about that later. I'll take you off mute in a second. Anyway, as people are joining, I want to just do a little housekeeping. If you are a first-time attendee, or maybe it's been a while, be sure to click on the chat box at the bottom of your screen, which will put the Zoom group chat in the right column, and that way you can introduce yourself and say hi. As those names start filling in, you might need to edit your name. Karen, I'm not seeing everybody's names popping up, so maybe you can look at that for me. Oh, here we go. Karen's got it going. If you need to edit your name so we know who you are, please do so, because all you have to do is click on the name and add your business and your first and last name. So Nisha, hi Nisha, you can wave so people see you. Nisha's gonna tally everybody's names for the drawing. We've been giving away some really wonderful swag, and we've got, I hate to use the word swag because Karen said that means stuff we all get. So it's really not swag because we're not all getting it. It's special we all get. Anyhow, we're going to get started. That's the only housekeeping I have. We have one guest today, and so if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'll have time for questions after about 20-25 minutes. So right now, I want to welcome our special guest, Rita Jo Shoultz of Alaska Perfect Peony, coming to us from Fritz Creek, Alaska. Hi, Rita Jo.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us. You have such an amazing pedigree and such a history of gardening and growing in Alaska. And you're one of the very first commercial peony growers in the state, as far as I recall. You're gonna have to tell us that story. The other hat you're wearing is as the chair of Certified American Grown Council. And I asked you if you were the first non-Californian, and you said you were the first chair. So we want to hear that story. I was really interested in hearing from Rita Jo today because there's so much happening on the national level, especially with policymaking and all, as it's been affected by a lot of stay-at-home orders, what's happening with flower farmers. So Rita Jo, can you just kind of give us a little bit of a snapshot of what you've been doing the last 2 months and how engaged you've been, and on behalf of your farm and also on behalf of the members of Certified American Grown Farms?
Thank you, Deborah. I am so happy to be here. I hope you might have to control your volume, guys, because I'm a pretty passionate person and I get carried away a little bit. But
okay.
I've known Deborah before she was a household word, so I consider her to be a long-term friend. So I'm really happy to be here. I am the chair of the Council for Certified American Grown, and the last 2 months, I spent 4 or 5 hours a day on the phone or on the video, just like we are right now, talking about PPP and EIDL and OMB and COOL and a ton of other acronyms. And so we've had lobbyists, we've had congressional people, we've had USDA, we've had SBA all join us to keep us involved and keep us up to date as to what's happening with all the funding that's available and some of the other crises. We've been meeting, the Certified American Grown, been meeting every Wednesday. I've been hosting a very virtual, just like this is, and we've been having between 49 and 63 people, members, tune in. And we started off with some pretty sad tales. Some farms closing, especially one of our biggest farms just closed completely, and a rose farm closed. So it's been hard to keep your morale up. Trucks weren't going, so they were taking essentials and they weren't hauling flowers. So people couldn't get their stuff to where they needed to be. The supermarkets, which is the biggest market for cut flowers, were giving up their space for flowers and turning it into essential needs, and their employees were moved around to essential needs. So it was a pretty bleak thing. And we all just kept meeting every Wednesday. And what was really great, though, was just like this meeting right here, was being able to commiserate with other people. And eventually we started learning a little bit more. And so-and-so would say, hey, I found a trucker. And everybody said, oh, well, okay, what's the name, and we'd all share that. Or, someone else said, oh, I opened up my farm and I stuck this stuff out on the table and it was gone within an hour after I put it on Instagram or Facebook. So sharing what everybody was doing to overcome all these obstacles has just been really fantastic. But I got to tell you, being on this show right here with all my peeps, you guys are my peeps, my flower lovers, this is going to be really great because I don't have to worry about all the acronyms and all the problems. We can just sit back and relax and enjoy ourselves.
Well, one thing Rita Jo asked me when we were texting last night is who attends the Slow Flowers virtual Zoom meeting. And I told her it was roughly half and half of farmers and florists, and of course that hybrid farmer florist. But if you want to identify yourself by your business in the chat, that will maybe Rita Jo can glance over there and sort of see who's here. But right now, just looking at the attendees, we have a lot of farmer florists today, Rita Jo, and mostly people who have are in the wedding and event space. And I don't see, and it could be because it is Mother's Day weekend, not a lot of retail florists. But your comment about grocery made me want to ask you, how many farms are part of Certified American Grown and how many states roughly do they represent? Because I know at the very beginning, it was pretty much the large California farms, and that's really changed, hasn't it?
It has changed a lot. We're still working on that. We're getting ready. We've got a committee of 8 right now. They're getting ready to do a social media campaign for new members. And we're looking for the farmer florist and the smaller farms is what we're going to be concentrating on. We represent about 60% of all the cut flower growers in the United States are members. But we do have a lot of large members from California. And it's a good thing, though, because they contribute a lot to us and they really help us out. But we are going to be focusing after Mother's Day for 30 days. You'll be seeing it. You might get tired of seeing it. You'll be seeing a lot of social media on the smaller farms joining.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean 60% of all cut flowers sold in the U.S. are represented by members?
That is correct.
Yeah. I thought I misunderstood you. I didn't think it was 60% of all farms because there's just so many farms.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Is like 6,000 or something like that. Yeah. But the volume is really represented because of some of the large relationships with mass market grocery customers, right?
That is correct. Yeah. But again, we have 8 geographical districts, and each of those districts has a council member. And so again, we're going back to we're going back to the, hate to use the same word, but grassroots, because that's what we're after now. We're after the smaller farmer. We really want to feel the pulse of the smaller farmer. So and the farmer florist.
Yeah. So talk about some of the policy work and advocacy work that might be of interest to people who are just kind of curious about, like, we all sort of are in our own little bubbles working on our own floral businesses, but there's this larger national kind of shift happening that you and I both have been involved in for years, trying to change the landscape of, I don't know, just getting policymakers to care about flowers and see flowers as essential to the agricultural landscape. What kind of, I haven't been involved for a couple of years, so bring us up to speed on some of the issues that are right at, at the table right now.
Well, I guess everybody here knows, but I'll very quickly, like in the early 90s, 80% of the cut flowers that you saw in the United States were United States people, American flowers. And then our government saw fit to try to help Colombia and a couple other places fight communism and drugs and everything. So they gave them millions and millions, like $540 million to grow flowers. So they did. They went out and they built their roads and et cetera, et cetera. And now it's 80% from them and 20% from us. So it was kind of kicking the butt type thing. And so we've been fighting that for years and years and years. And so now Trump has promised me personally, that he will not give any more money to foreign countries unless he considers what it will do to the American florist, the American farmer, the cut flower people. So that for us was a huge step to get a president to agree not to continue to give money to foreign countries to compete with us. So and slowly but surely, we're probably at about 26 or 28% now. So we're gaining a little bit, slowly but surely. But also this past year, last year, Congressman Young put together a bill called the American Grown Act, and he presented it, and then immediately we had impeachment, so it kind of got set beside the road. And then this past March, when I was in Washington, D.C., Senator Sullivan, on the Senate side, you have to have it on the Congress side and then the Senate side, he put in a bill for, I was there when he signed it, it was kind of cool, signed the bill for American Grown Act. Now, the American Grown Act is all federal agencies that use your tax dollars and my tax dollars must use American grown flowers. They don't have to be certified American grown, but must use American grown flowers for all their events. So this would be the White House, for one thing, who does not use American flowers. So, I mean, that doesn't really make any sense, does it? So
they might use some, but it's not been a stated policy, right?
Right, yeah. Every once in a while, they'll have an event. They had one last year and they had one this year where they did use American grown. And of course, they publicized that. We thanked them very, very much for that. But if this passes, then, and it will pass, we have Republicans, Democrats, Independents all signed onto the bill. So it's going to be a nonpartisan bill. So I'm fairly certain it's going to pass. Now we have the pandemic, so it'll wait. But after something settles down a little bit, why we should be able to get that to pass. So that's a big thing.
So what is the next step? Like people should get in touch with their elected officials to speak up and say they support it, or what would you like us to know about in terms of, helping support that?
That would be great. If you have, if in your area, what we're trying to do is now identify all of our congressional people that have farms in their district. And then we want our farms to go to them and say, hey, sign up for this. Okay. So yes, that's exactly what we'd like to do. We're kind of waiting to start pushing that again till probably the first part of June. And then we'll really start pushing it again.
So maybe when that happens, you can come back onto the podcast and talk about it, and we can share like action items and that sort of thing, just to bring people up to speed when it's time to jump in. It sounds like it's a little bit of a holding pattern right now.
Yeah, with everything else that's going on, it's kind of taken the back burner.
So Rita Jo, do you feel like even though there's been some news of large kind of corporate farms closing, and I'm assuming the ones that you're talking about are the ones I'm thinking of in California. Do you feel like that's just like those farms were going to shut down anyway and COVID kind of pushed them forward? Or do you feel like will this continue, or have we kind of stabilized right now in terms of the threat to flower farming? Or do you even know?
Probably I don't know, but I'll give you my opinion.
I'd love your opinion.
Yes, as to the big farm that closed in California, Dan wasn't ready to retire. Mm-hmm. And so, and the farm has they also grow food. So they'll just switch that out.
And was that Ocean View?
Yes.
Okay.
They'll just switch that out to food.
Okay.
Then we lost a rose grower, and he was probably at the end of his rope. So we're going to have some fallout for people who were just hanging on by their fingernails, which is still a shame, because they were hanging on by their fingernails, and hopefully we're going to be able to help them with some of these things like the American Grown Act. But, and I think there's going to be a lot more fallout before it's over with. I think we're going to have a lot of smaller farms that are just going to give it up.
Who do you think is going to get through this? I mean, like what kind of enterprise or approach is, in my observation, I feel like the farms and florists who are collaborating, who are bringing the message of this is your community, we're part of the fabric of your community, and we want to, we're your neighbors. Like those people seem to have a really solid support base from small customers. And I'm just curious, is that something you've noticed as well, or?
Absolutely. I was on Marketplace yesterday or day before, and that was one of the things they asked me. And I told them, and that's what we discovered during this entire operation. The farmer florists and the smaller operations are doing much better than the large because they're used to being diversified. They're used to, getting down in the gravel and working hard, and they're used to doing whatever it takes to get it done. They don't just have a regiment that they go to work every day and they do these 3 things and they go home. They do a little bit of everything, So the farmer florist and the florist were putting a table out, and they're putting the flowers out there with an honor system, and they were selling, and they were doing subscriptions, and they were doing the porch drop, and they were doing everything, where the big farms weren't set up for that. And at first, the big farms didn't even have the mechanisms. They didn't know how to get in touch with one-on-one. They didn't have point of sale information. They weren't set up to do it. So they were the ones that were really having to scramble. Whereas the little guy was used to fighting battles, and they just went out, oh, well, that didn't work. Let's try this. And they were much more successful. Some of the smaller farms told me that they had their best Easter ever by just being, smart.
I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. The other category, Rita Jo, I think would be someone like you at Alaska Perfect Peony, where you're like, you have a high value add couture crop that is, got a role in the marketplace that everyone wants. And because you're not really diversified, you're mainly growing peonies, right?
I only grow peonies. That's my only business. Right?
Well, let's pivot to that then. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on at Alaska Perfect Peonies. Peony, plural. I always want to, or singular, not plural. Yeah, I know there's a lot of peonies there, but talk about where you're at right now, like in early May. Is the snow all melted, and are you seeing your shoots coming up?
Yes. So we still have piles of snow sticking around, so we have a reminder that winter's not very far behind us. But if the fields are all clean, and the ponds and the lakes and things, the ice has just gone out, and the cranes are back. So I'm out in the field with these very large, loud sandhill cranes.
I didn't understand that when you said you didn't hear my text the other day because the cranes were so loud. Yeah. You got to shoot a video of that.
Well, I have videos of that, and I have soundtracks of it. I should have played a soundtrack for you. If you haven't ever heard them, they are so loud, but they're so beautiful and big. And yeah.
Well, I'm gonna put your website up here so people can see it, and just get a little snapshot of who you are. Okay. Who is your main customer, and how are you getting peonies to the marketplace?
Okay, we send everything by FedEx overnight, priority overnight. So FedEx backs up to our pack house at 5 o'clock every morning, Monday through Thursday, and they take the FedEx truck takes our peonies, but we have too many to go up on the plane out of Homer. So there's a refrigerator truck then that they take it to that drives it to Anchorage, which takes about 5 hours. And then it gets on a plane, and it's at its destination usually by 10 o'clock the next morning. We put ice packs in the boxes, so they should arrive in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm. And how do you sell? Like, what are your minimums or your quantities? I'm just poking around here on your website, so people are going to have to go visit it themselves to see all the resources.
Go to the varieties page.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll scroll down now, and you'll start seeing some of the photos.
Oh, right. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So we are, this next week, actually, we are launching a new e-commerce site. We've never sold outside of we did at the very beginning. At the very beginning, the phone rang, we took the order, right? That's
right. But that was like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's 14 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
So when we got around to getting our act together, then we only sold to licensed people. And we've been doing that now for the past 10 years. But with the pandemic, we've decided to open an e-commerce site so that the bride can actually order too in a smaller amount. But we've always been 50 stems was our minimum. Mm-hmm. And we have we do a lot of work actually with the farmer florist, because we also sell roots, and our blog talks about how to grow them. You can go on the blog and see how to start a farm and all that kind of thing. So, So the farmer florists are kind of my people that I really like. I like them all, but I like those guys too because we have two things in common. We're growing and we're selling, the roots.
Wow, this is a great resource. There's a lot of specific like harvest, post-harvest, cooling, shipping kind of information here. Wow, look at all that over on the right. You can pretty much just go to peony school here.
Well, I had to do that because my phone was ringing all the time, and it'd be dinner time, my time, or the wrong time, and people want to chat, and I'd want to tell them, because I wanted to share, don't make the mistakes I made, and 45 minutes later, and I was doing that all the time. So
yeah, and then your dinner got cold. No, I think this is great. I'm going to turn this off so we can come back to see you. Let's see. We have about 5 or 10 minutes for questions. So Lisa Watt is on now, and she's going to look and the group chat and pull up any questions for Rita Jo. And I'll just kick it off to get started. What is the most popular color palette in peonies on the cut side right now? Not for gardens, but for floral design. Do you have a sense of what's going to be hot?
The first thing that always sells out is the corals. They always sell out because they're really hard to grow. First of all, Deborah, our peonies are in production. We sell starting the last week of June through probably the 1st of August. And then there are other farms in the state that can sell in September even. So we have peonies when nobody else has fresh cut peonies. Holland has a tendency to store them in those long bins, and they're okay, but they're nothing like a fresh cut flower. So so that was one thing. And what was your question? Sorry. This is what happens when you're passionate. well,
what also, you told me to ask you about the peonies behind you.
Oh,
so
yes.
Tell us about those. And then I'll ask my other question.
So last night, about 8:30, as I was winding down, my good friend, Dr. Hahn, can you see him?
Who I've met, yep.
Yeah. He called me up and he said, I've got some Duchess blooming in the conservatory. It took me about 1.5 minutes to find my shoes and run down there and cut those. And my whole office just smells wonderful. These are Duchess de Nemours. They are actually a smaller flower than most in Alaska. And that's probably a 5 or 6 inch flower. But our flowers, because of our cold growing conditions, cool soils, and the cold air coming across the bay, we can have up to 10-inch flowers. Not all of them, but so back to your question. I'm sorry. See how I just get off.
Yeah. I think you started to talk about the corals being the most popular, and I'm sensing that maybe that is not as vigorous of a variety as the whites and the reds, and so is that one of the reasons that it's
one of the parents it's a peregrine parent that on the corals for you growers, and it's not as hardy. It's not near as hardy as a lactifolia. So we have losses every year, but it's also very interesting. It's the only peony that I know that will start from a piece of root.
Wow.
Peonies have to have eyes to start a new baby. But these guys, we found that out because we dug them up because they were in the wrong place. The next year they were there again. So
it's just like little pieces of root had broken off in the soil.
Yeah. And Dr. Hahn has a whole big greenhouse full of corals from pieces that he found out in the yard, so to speak, So those are the first ones that sell out because we don't have as many because they're beautiful and because they're hard to grow, so they're a rarity. And then, of course, whites and blush is for all the weddings. But, as you guys know, our designing has changed tremendously. You don't just see a bunch of white flowers, a bride walking down the aisle with a bunch of white flowers anymore. That's not what's happening. So there's a mix, and they're frilly, and they're just absolutely beautiful. So some of the oddball, when we first started growing, you could not sell a red. But now we sell out of reds too quickly.
Yeah. So that's wonderful.
It's changing.
I have one more question on color, and then we've got a couple people with questions, and Lisa's going to moderate that. What is the deal with the elusive yellow or like buttercream or pale yellow peony? Is that ever going to go into large production, or is it? What's your assessment of that range?
Well, first of all, I don't think they look like a peony. I'm a little prejudiced. I don't really care for them that much, although I have them. I bring them home and put them out. I don't grow them, but they are very hard to grow, and they do not have a very good vase life. So I'm not sure why. And there's so many other yellow, beautiful flowers. I mean, yellow is an easy flower to grow.
Right. No, that's really helpful to hear. I suppose if someone's just craving a yellow peony, they can go buy a tree peony and just have one or two stems a year to enjoy, instead of the herbaceous ones.
Right. And they won't enjoy them very long.
Okay.
Because they don't last very long.
Don't pursue, it's like the blue rose. It's not going to happen.
In my opinion. But there are some farms that are growing them, and they are really pretty. But I don't know they're really pretty.
Yeah, but it sounds like the corals is going to always trump the yellow in terms of the preferences. Okay, yeah, Lisa, let's jump on and let you get the questions rolling here.
Hi there, everybody. I have Rebecca with some questions about frost.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi. Tell Rita Jo where you're at so she knows climate-wise what to relate to.
I'm in the Hudson Valley, an hour and 40 minutes north of New York City. I forget my zone. I think it's 6.
Probably 4.
No, I think it's 6.
Oh, you're that high? Okay. Yeah. I was just in your area last couple months ago.
Oh, cool. So everyone's freaking out this whole week for the cold temps. I think tonight's going down to 32. My peonies are pretty tall, 2.5 feet, I would say now, with tiny little buds. They're all the red type, pink type. And cover, but I just wanted to know what you do when the frost is coming, because I did read that they are susceptible to damage when the growth is that high. And I was going to maybe just cover with remay and wanted to know if the remay can touch the leaves, if that's okay.
Okay, Rebecca, first of all, nothing will happen till they're below 29. You're okay to 29 degrees Fahrenheit, okay?
Really?
Yeah, we've done a lot of research on that, and they have little things in them that crystallize and keep the ice from crystallizing in there. So you should be okay down to 29. And as far as remay cloth, putting the remay cloth off, the insulation, that raises the temperature about 3 degrees. So if you think it's going to get down to 26 or 27, I'd get out there. But if it's just going to get down to freezing, I don't think you're going to have any problems.
Oh, good to know. Thank you. You're really making my day.
You'll have to report back on the prognosis.
I will.
Okay.
I was just going to jump in and say that Krista from Far North Flowers is on, and in Fairbanks, right, Krista?
Yep, that's right.
She said that she has lemon chiffon peonies in production. So we'll let you jump in a second, Krista. And as soon as Rita Jo is finished, we'll go back to your question, Lisa, that you started.
Okay, so Rebecca was asking about the Itos, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, and Itos are very, very slow growing, okay, and they are not as hardy as Electrofolia, but should be good in a zone 6. But they will take a long time to get any height on them, but in the meantime, they're going to look like a shrub. They're going to go crossways.
Okay.
Great. And then there was a question about e-commerce or something, right, Lisa?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
We're wondering what e-commerce platform you're using, Rita Jo.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have a techie guy that I've been working with for about 20 years, and I wouldn't begin to ask him any of those questions. And he does the own program for me. I'm not on GoDaddy, I'm not anything else. He programs everything for me, which keeps me from getting hacked so easily.
Okay. So it's a custom platform.
It is a custom platform. My inventory, everything is custom.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, well, first I want Krista to jump in and talk about lemon chiffon, because we were kind of maligning the yellow peony, but we didn't mean to.
Well, we don't have a lot in production, but they're, I think, 3-year-olds this coming year, so they haven't reached their peak production. But I would agree with Rita Jo that they don't have a really long base life, but they are pretty, in my opinion, pretty spectacular flowers. Their scent is amazing. We can smell it from across the field.
Wow.
They're an earlier bloomer for us, and they're also one of the biggest buds that we have. Their stems aren't super, they cut them a little shorter than some of our other varieties. But Yeah, it's like I said, we don't have a ton in production, but those that we do have, we're pretty excited about.
All right.
We also have a slightly different climate than Rita Jo. We're located in interior Alaska, and so we have probably warmer growing degree days here. We also, our farm is on a south aspect, so we get a lot more heat, which is probably helpful in the growing of that particular variety.
So do you think, when will you start harvesting?
We tend to harvest the last week of June, beginning of July. Last year was really early, but I think we're on track to have more of an average harvest season this year.
Oh, good. Oh, I want to smell that lemon chiffon. I guess if it's for wedding work, it's okay that it doesn't have long base life, right?
I'm not on that end of it, but I guess
that's how I would sell it.
Yeah.
For Debra, for a lot of our stuff, we send a lot of things down to LA for the Hollywood people, and it has to last 1 week because these like Empty Vase, which is a huge flower company, florist in LA, they go into all these mansions, so to speak, and they put a bouquet in every room. And they come back next week and replace it. And if it doesn't last a full 7 days, I hear about it. I've only heard about it once, but that was very disappointing, to hear about it. So ours have to last a full 7 days.
That's a really good point. It's the expectation of the consumer. Okay, Lisa, any other questions?
Yes, we have a question from Susan about tips on prolonging peony stems, wrapping and storing in your cooler.
Okay, that's a big question. When we harvest, we put them into, we have one cooler that is really skookum cooler that gets the heat out from the field. They keep opening until they reach about 33 degrees, 33, 34. And if you don't get them cooled down, they're going to continue to open. And if you're shipping, you can't ship anything that's open, so you just want a bud. So they come out of that fast cool it down, and they get processed, with the stem length and the bud size and that type of thing. And then they get we put ours into a bucket of water about 5 inches with a compound that makes sure for diseases and that type of thing. We do that. We actually do ours overnight because that works with our program, but you don't have to have it that long, just a few hours, and even sometimes 20 to 30 minutes. And then they come out and they go into cardboard boxes or shipping boxes, and they go into the third cooler. And we do not wrap them with newspapers. We don't do anything. We have a permeated plastic bag that we sometimes will lay in the bottom of it and maybe pull it up around it, but we keep them open for a long-term storage. And we usually sell out of our stuff pretty quickly, but we have experimented with newspapers, and we've experimented with everything. And last year, my husband built me a thing on wheels. I don't know if you can imagine, but it's about 4 feet tall. And we put 1,000 Sarahs in there without hydrating, without anything else, and stored them for 2 full weeks to see what they would do. And they were just perfect when we took them out. So I think they're pretty forgiving of, you can do a lot of different things and get away with a lot.
Cool. Okay, a few more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up and go to our Zoom breakout rooms.
We have Sherry wondering if, Rita Jo, do you only ship to Western states?
No, we ship all over the United States and Canada. We did go to Vietnam and South Korea and all those countries over there, and they would all really like to have our flowers, but why would we want to have to mess with that and all the phytosanitaries, et cetera, if we can sell to the lower 48, we speak the same language, the same money, so that's what we do, but all over.
That's great.
I also wanted to read to you that Sherry just wrote in the chat that she has Congress in her backyard and many contacts, and she's very open to lobby for you and American and slow flowers and American grown flowers.
We'll have to connect them by email. That sounds great.
And I have one more question from Laura Cohen, wondering if Rita Jo, do you think we'll ever see a peony that's bred to thrive in zone 9?
No.
Wow. I guess maybe Laura has to move if she wants to grow peonies, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there's all those California flowers that Laura has, Rita Jo can't grow in Fitz Creek. So I guess we always want what we can't have.
Yep. That's why I only grow peonies.
Hey, any final comments that you want to share, Rita Jo? We're going to maybe pivot to the second portion of this meeting, and you're welcome to stay, but I know you've got a lot on your plate, so no obligation.
Well, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, Deborah. I've been listening to your virtual meetings and enjoying, seeing, like I said, with my peeps. I love all you guys. I have a passion for this. I feel totally, totally fortunate at my age to be able to doing something like this that I just dearly love. So keeps me agile.
We love you too. And there is a surprise in our giveaway this week. Alaska Perfect Peony and Rita Jo are going to provide one bridal box, which is 20 stems, shipped to one of the people who are, who gets their name selected by Nisha in our totally random drawing, right, Nisha? We don't play favorites. And that's so exciting. And that probably is your part of your new e-commerce program, right, Rita Jo?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Karen just put your Instagram in the chat so everybody can find it too, Rita Jo.
Oh,
and we'll talk.
Thank you very much.
And you and I will talk maybe when you're a little bit further along on the legislative issues so that people can know when to jump in and show their support. Saying that you and I we'll get you on the podcast when you're a little closer to the American grown legislation, like maybe in a month or so. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rita Jo. We'll talk to you soon, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
My pleasure.
Okay, we'll also have the video of today's session posted early next week, so we can, go back and take notes if you came to this late. Great. Okay, everybody, we're back. Thanks for that thanks for bearing with us with a little bit of transition from the breakout rooms to the back to the group, but that was wonderful. What is Rita doing? Rita, what are you doing? Showing us
in our breakout session, we talked about a light box thing, to use for taking photos and things, and they wanted to know what it looked like, and so I said, I can show you this. It's on a stand.
Yeah.
It has a place to hold your thing.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like.
I have one too.
You would call it a ring light. So that's what it would be. Just for those that were in our group, yeah.
Yours looks fancier than mine, Rita Jo.
Well, mine was a $40 special. Yours is probably $38.
Okay, well, this was fun. Our group had a lot of good questions to put into the hopper for future, and I'm getting really good notes on the margins saying the breakouts are fun. So maybe we'll just keep it going and have just breakouts one week. I haven't really lined up anybody for next week because everyone's so distracted with Mother's Day. So we'll see what happens. If you all don't mind waiting to just let Deborah get her act together for what will be May 15th. Actually, May 15th is going to be an important date because that's the date we're going to announce all the response and plans relating to the Slow Flowers Summit because of COVID-19. So I will probably address some of that on our call. I want to just announce who received prizes last week on our giveaways. Sarah Wagstaff of Suat Farm and Flowers received the Slow Flower Society t-shirt. Bobby Ballard of Fernbrook Floral Design received the Corona clippers. Hi, Bobby. You look happy about that. Allison Mann of BWNP Floral, which stands for Bird Watching and Pruning Floral, which I love. Allison won the Cutting Garden Seed Kit donated by Grateful Gardeners. Rebecca Lane, who is Meadow Wilds, I think she might have jumped off the call already. She received she's still here. She received the the trio of Cafe au Lait dahlias. And Stacy from Peonia Designs got that big juicy package from Kelly Shore. Honestly, you guys are friends. And I told Kelly this was random. I had nothing to do with it. Nisha did the drawing, so it was kismet. That's pretty cool, Stacy. Flowers to play with. That's what I want to see you design with next week. All right, this week we're going to give away another Slow Flowers Society t-shirt. I'm running low on these inventory, but we've got some still. And copy of Slow Flowers, the book. I am out of the 50 Mile Bouquet. I'm waiting for more to be shipped. And look what I found in my stash in the garage, my favorite American-made apron. My friends Jana Lovgren at Raw Materials, she makes these cool aprons. This one's a half apron canvas. And I guess she calls it a, what does she call it? A florist utility apron. So that's really fun. And the box of peonies from Rita Jo. So there's 4 giveaways. And if you're on this call, we'll pull your name off of the group chat and do a random drawing and hopefully announce that Monday or Tuesday. So thank you all so much. Happy Mother's Day. Happy early spring. Happy planting. And I'd look forward to hearing lists from folks who are in the group chats about topics that you want us to put into the mix for the future. All right, time to say goodbye. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you all for joining us.
Have a good one.
Bye, thank you.